So recently it came out that Donald Trump is thinking of eliminating federal tax on anyone who's making $150,000 or less. Now, I think that's a great idea. Some people like it, some people don't. You know, it is what it is. But this goes to my point that as a citizen, you need to understand tax law, constitutional law, and finance in this country in order to understand how this country is ran, in order to know how to wade through the water, fight with the system, learn the infrastructure of the system. So that way you can learn how to maximize your potential of earnings and living a great life, so forth and so on. Because if you only go by what people tell you or what you hear, you just become an emotional voter, the emotional actor that someone can tell you. Because, like, all I hear every day is how bad, how evil Donald Trump is and how he going to destroy the country. But yet, on something like this, you won't hear the average person talk about it because they really don't understand it and they don't believe that he'll do it. Like they're talking about the $5,000 check that's supposed that he's supposed to give. Well, that was something that him and Elon Musk came up with when Musk was finding all this waste and destroying all these corporations and firing all these people because it was just wasteful spending. And they said, man, we may find so much money that we might give every American $5,000. People kind of try to poo poo on that, but this taxes. When you talk about taxes, now people know talk about taxes when you get a income tax return, but when you talk about taxes, don't nobody understand that. But anyway, that's why I want to get into this story because I want to break it down, do a deep dive because there's some information I want to kind of clarify and explain to you exactly how this elimination of income tax for $150,000 earners or less is possible. But first, let's get into this story and then we'll break it down. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And when you do subscribe, hit the notification bell so every time I drop a video, you will be the first to know about it. And also, don't forget to hit up marlonmorale.com or hit that shop button below to get all of our luxury fine products. Let's hit it.
Edward, thank you very much. And with that, we're glad to bring in the Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick. Secretary, good to have you with us. Welcome. Welcome to the story.
Great to be here today.
Good to see you. So what about that? You said on CBS that President Trump wants no taxes on people making below $150,000 annually. And our sources are saying that the Treasury Department doesn't have any plan to put that into action.
No, that's taking it out of context. What we discussed was when the president balances the budget, his first move is going to be, he has suggested that he would like to waive taxes for people under $150,000. That's aspirational, that when we balance the budget, and let me tell you, he's got a plan to balance this budget, right? We are going to take $1 trillion out of the waste, fraud, and abuse of all of our entitlements and all of our systems and all of our waste. And then we are going to raise $1 trillion. That's the Trump card. The Trump gold card is going to be a huge revenue producer. Tariffs are going to be a huge revenue producer. And then getting rid of all the tax scams like Ireland making $75 billion trade, budget surplus. We've got all the ships of the world having imagine a Liberian flag so they get out of paying U.S. taxes. You cut all that stuff out, you got a balanced budget. But on the way, we're going to cut no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security.
So
So basically what he's saying is he's explaining to you what Trump is trying to do. Trump is like, man, if I can save the American taxpayer trillions of dollars in wasteful spending, if I can stop America from relying on other countries to, for products, when we used to make so many products here and we ship them out, or, like other countries, they make a lot of products and certain products, they'll ship them out. To put it on a personal level, think about the barter system, especially down here in the South, when people used to grow their own food in their backyards, like for real, for real. and each family would grow certain crops, and then once the harvest season came, now they're going from, if they're not selling them at the farmers market, they're trading them, or if they're at the farmers market, they might be trading them with other farmers for, this farmer might got potatoes, this one might got carrots, this one might got watermelons, and y'all trade however in order to survive. So that's kind of like when you're doing like trading across the oceans, hey, you give me this, you give me that, stuff like that. I think that's how it should go. I think you should like sell stuff to your own people in your country. And then when other countries got products, y'all can do like a fair exchange. That would eliminate a lot of debt, especially the debt that America has right now. But that's probably thinking too far in advance. But Trump, with the help of Elon Musk and other people in his cabinet, are trying to eliminate wasteful spending in order to save taxpayers money. Now, he said himself that this might hurt at first, which I understand, because when you're trying to change what people are used to, it's going to hurt to try to get it back right. Just think about having an addiction or a sugar addiction, cigarette addiction, alcohol addiction, a drug addiction, and now trying to get you off of those substances. You're going to go through withdrawal and it's going to hurt. But in the end, it's going to be 100 times better for you. But while you're doing it, you don't understand what the purpose and what all this pain is for. That's all. That's pretty much it in a nutshell. But all right, let's continue.
When should Americans expect a balanced budget by? What is the goal on that, Howard?
I love that question. Think about it. Our objective is during President Trump's term, over the next 4 years, we are going to try to balance the budget. Now, obviously, the sooner we balance that budget, the more we can all enjoy the possibilities that exist under Donald Trump's presidency. He would like to replace the Internal Revenue Service with the External Revenue Service and let all those countries who
so
just
sometime in the
lean on
next
our
4
economy.
years, you're saying it could
Oh,
take
yeah.
as long as 4 years, but
oh no, I don't want it to take 4 years.
Okay.
We want it to take 3. We want it to take 3, and obviously aspirationally,
Okay.
I'd really like it to take 2, so that he has the last 2 years to hammer away, get rid of the Internal Revenue Service, and start to replace it with the External Revenue Service.
I think she's trying to rush him because she only have like maybe 5 minutes or 7 minutes to ask some questions before the next commercial break. So I can understand why she's doing that. But yeah, that's why I feel too that Trump is going scorched earth. People are, like I say, tripping on him, talking bad about him, saying he's a devil and evil and stuff like that. But you got to think about it. He only has 4 years to try to correct what's been done over decades, which is pretty much impossible. So if he can at least put a dent in the problem on the way to fix it, what could happen. 4 years from now, the next president would be a Republican. And then 4 years after that, the next president could be a Republican, because they're actually fixing the economy. And America is doing a full 180 to get back to where it used to be. But in actuality, personally, I don't know if that can happen, because I don't know. But anyway, let's continue.
A balanced budget. But just to be clear on this, you said that no taxes for people under $150,000. So you're saying that could happen in the next 2 years. So I'm just looking at the numbers here. The bottom 90% of the U.S. tax base is people under around $150,000. That's the way they lay it out. That
There
is
you go.
$531 billion in federal taxes. It's a quarter of all.
So you're saying like the bottom 90% of U.S. taxpayers make 0 to 169,000. I wonder why she didn't say a 0 to 150,000. I think because maybe 169,000 is like where the tax rate like bumps up next to maybe 140 or something like that. But just to look at that real quick, if let's see, right now the median household, like the median black household, makes $56,490. The median white household makes $84,000. So, like I say, it's not a lot. Like I say, it's not a lot of people making that much money. But then you're probably thinking like, well, hell, if they're paying, 9% of the people that are working make less than $150,000. That means the rich people are going to pay the taxes. Now, ain't that interesting? Because isn't that what Democrats always holler? That the rich do not pay their fair share of taxes? Well, they say billionaires because a lot of them Democrats are millionaires. They can't say millionaires and billionaires. Now they just got to say billionaires because, like I said, a lot of them are millionaires. But this here would basically make sure, just on surface, that the rich will pay the majority of the taxes. But again, you don't hear a whole lot of people talking about this deal that this plan that Trump has.
All federal tax revenue. So you're saying in 2 years we could be in a position where people who make under 150K will pay no taxes in America?
Well, this is aspirational, right? When we balance the budget, that is a move that the president has on his mind and that he has discussed. Balance the budget, and then let's take care of all of the people. Like you said, the 90% of Americans who are 150,000 or less. That's why they elected Donald Trump. That's why you've got Elon Musk and Doge. You know, everybody forgets why if you take $1 trillion out of the waste, fraud, and abuse of our systems, and then you have the tariffs leading, what Donald Trump is leading with, and then you produce drill, baby, drill, right? And then you have the Trump card probably raising between $500 billion and $1 trillion a year. You've got a balanced budget. You've got a fundamental change of America.
The Trump gold card so far, Howard? How many people?
Well, we're going to announce over the next 2 weeks a pilot program, which is going to help Congress be able to score that in.
And then think about this. It's kind of like when you got those Coco 19 checks, or even if you can get the $5,000 from Trump. What it does is it put money back into the economy, because if you don't have, think about it. I mean, it's just like robbing Peter to pay Paul. You know what I'm saying? It's if I got an extra 10, 20,000, $40,000 in my pocket, I can use that to put back into the economy. You know, it's a win-win for everybody. I can buy more stuff, and businesses can sell more goods, and everybody's, you know what I'm saying, everybody wins that way. It only, to me, it only doesn't work if you're reliant on a economy that is dependent on other countries. That's when this doesn't work, and this is why he is trying to make America more self-sufficient than it probably has been since its inception.
In and help this reconciliation bill, but we expect tens of thousands. I mean, just the inquiries I've had, tens of thousands of applications at $5 million each. We are working our tails off to balance the budget for the American people and for Donald Trump. That's why they elected Donald Trump, and he is working really hard at it.
You say the goal is in the first 2 years. That would be when the midterm comes up. So that would be a pretty big deal. Let me ask you about this. I want to play this because Doug Ford and you are about to meet, correct? The premier from Ontario. A lot of heated conversation going back and forth. I should point
Doug
out
Ford
to
is
people
coming, and the Minister of Finance is coming.
Okay,
so
great.
The central government is coming as well.
So Doug Ford was always a big Trump fan, but now he's saying that, you know, he feels that the United States has turned the guns on their closest ally. He says it's so disappointing.
Okay, so before we get to Doug Ford, or even if we do get to him, we'll see. I want to go back and want to stick to the topic at hand, and it's the removal of income tax on anyone making $150,000 or less. So I want to reference this book, which I've done many a times. Maybe y'all remember, The Whiteness of Wealth. It said how the tax system impoverishes Black Americans and how we can fix it. I've referenced this book a couple of times, a few times in my videos. I tell you, truthfully, yes, you should buy this book and read it from cover to cover and reference it many times. Because again, like I said, you need to understand tax law, constitutional law, and the economy, you know, economics, period, in this country in order to understand how it's ran, and like I say, and how to work in it and how to prosper in it. So in this book by Dorothy A. Brown, I want to read like a short little excerpt. to let y'all understand, tell y'all about this whole tax system because I was talking about this to somebody today, and when they was talking, we was talking about this, like I said, whole $150,000 plan, and I told him, I said, you know that the tax system that we are in currently is barely 100 years old. Like they have not been doing this forever. This is something quote unquote new because back in the day, only a few people had to pay taxes. But then as time went on, sometimes went from like 2% of the people to everybody paying taxes to the federal government. But yet we got a budget and we got a deficit that's what is it, 7 trillion? That's ridiculous. You're paying, so that's why like Donald Trump, you know what I'm saying? You're paying all these taxes. Where is it going to? Because it doesn't make sense. We had a war back in the day over because the British wanted to tax some tea, just some tea. But now we paying taxes like it ain't nothing. But anyway, let me read, like I say, just a little small excerpt. This is in the introduction. So I mean, read the whole book. Let's start on page 12. It says, our modern income tax system traces its roots to the Revenue Act of 1913, which instituted what's called a progressive income tax system. In theory, tax rates increase as income increases. The idea is that the wealthy, those with the greatest ability to pay, should carry more responsibility for funding government services than those who make less. Because they understand if you don't make a lot of money, why are you paying a bunch of taxes? You need that money to survive, to put back in the economy. The new federal income tax replaced a system of indirect taxes on imports and tariffs on tobacco and alcohol, which hit the poorest Americans the hardest because they paid the same tariff rates as the wealthy, despite having less ability to pay. And you got to think about now poor communities. What do you see in poor communities? Liquor stores. You know what I'm saying? Low ball, cheap looking liquor stores all over. Now they got some in some rich communities, but they look like grocery stores, like high dollar grocery stores in their communities. But in the poor communities, which constitute a lot of more blacks, whites, Hispanics, whatever, you got liquor stores that just look, are just terrible. And there's too many of them there. Liquor stores, pawn shops, stuff like that, right? So no, it says the Revenue Act was passed by Congress without a single black member and signed into law by President Woodrow Wilson, whose cabinet implemented, some historians say continued, racial segregation in the federal civil services. By the summer of 1913, Treasury Secretary William G. McAdoo, who oversaw the Bureau of Internal Revenue, uh, the precursor to the Internal Revenue Service, had segregated toilets, lunchrooms, and working areas. In defending the Jim Crow practices, McAdoo said there has been an effort in the department to remove the causes of complaint and irritation where white women have been forced unnecessarily to sit at desks with colored men. Oh, God, Lord, that's a whole other thing. But anyway, let me see what I'm trying to get to. It said rooted in prejudice, work to Black Americans' advantage. Okay, but while the department tasked with carrying out the new Revenue Act worked to diminish its Black employees, it wasn't thinking of Black Americans as taxpayers, a policy rooted in prejudice that nonetheless worked to Black Americans' advantage. The system had been designed by whites in Congress to tax certain working class white taxpayers less and other wealthy white taxpayers more. Under the new law, only those who earn more than $3,000 as an individual or $4,000 for a husband living with a stay-at-home spouse. Now remember, white men worked, white women stayed home. Remember during the war, white men went to war, white women stayed home. Black men went to war, black women stayed home. What? But then I can't remember what state it was. I want to say it's in Carolina somewhere. They passed this law saying that black women had to go to work because if they were staying home taking care of their family, who's gonna raise the little white children? This is real law. Look it up. Matter of fact, it's one of the first videos I did years ago. But anyway, say a 4,000 stay-at-home spouse were required to pay. Okay, yeah. Under the new law, only those who earn more than $3,000 as individuals or $4,000 for a husband living with a stay-at-home spouse were required to pay federal income tax. Between 1918 and 1932, this amounted to an average of 5.2% of Americans paying federal income tax each year. In the late 1930s, the highest tax rate for those with incomes greater than 5 million applied to a single individual, John D. Rockefeller. Now, $3,000, I wrote this down, in 1930 is the equivalent of $96,236, $63.94. $4,000 is the equivalent of $124,351.92. Why is that relevant? Because both of those numbers are less than $150,000. So people who made less than $3,000 individual or $4,000 if your wife stayed at home, they had to pay income tax. Did not have to pay federal income tax. Amazing. Let's see. Now, I want to say nearly 70% of Atlanta's black residents were unemployed, and 30%, 34% right now. I think black unemployment is about 6%. At least double the number of white Atlanteans without a job. One reason for the disparity is that during the Great Depression, when so many Americans were desperate for work, it was a regular practice for companies to replace black workers with white ones. In 1936, more than half of all Southern black families reported annual income of $750 or less, compared to with 12% of white families. The median annual income for black families in Atlanta was only one-third of that of white families in southern cities. So basically what I'm trying to get at is they passed these laws for federal income tax. I'm trying to find one more little piece to see. Then it said the Revenue Act of 1943 dropped exemptions to just $600 of income for single taxpayers and $1,200 for married. And in 1943, $600 would be the equivalent of $11,017.49, and $1,200 would be the equivalent of, for like married people, $22,034.98. That would both of those numbers would be below the poverty threshold of a family of four at $29,960. So again, people in poverty would not have to pay income tax. It's at 1945, the median income for white families was just under 2,800, and for black families it was roughly 1,500. So let's say what it say from 400. It's a federal revenue from individual income tax increased exponentially from 400 million in 1934 to almost 30 billion in 1954, 20 years later. So the question again, where is all this tax money going? Where's all this tax money going? You're getting exponentially more money, but yet we are in debt. You still have a lot of people in poverty. You got homeless people who out there, insurance is sky high, and you have no rhyme or reason for it or no answer for it. Matter of fact, let's go to this real quick. Let's break it down. See, I Googled this. I Googled the Revenue Act of 1913. It says also known as the Underwood-Simmons Tariff Act, lowering average tariff rates. There we go. That's what I wanted to get to. And establish a federal income tax, marking a shift towards income taxes as primary source of government revenue. It lowered tariffs. The act significantly reduced average tariff rates from about 40% to around 27%. It established federal income tax, and it introduced a federal income tax taxing income above a certain threshold, initially $3,000 for single filers and $4,000 for joint filers at a rate of 1%. How much are you paying right now for federal income tax? Ain't it like I know in Texas, like 8.25? And back then it was just 1%. So the income tax had progressive rates, meaning the tax rate increased as income rose, with a top rate of 7% on incomes above 500,000. But it actually, I think during, I don't know which World War it was. It might have been World War One, I think. They were saying they had rates that was up to like 77%. Matter of fact, I think in the 80s, people were paying like 50 to 60% on taxes in certain states. Well, probably in the country. So I mean, taxes go up and go down, but that's what that 16th Amendment allows the government to, to just change the rate of taxes as they feel. Gave Congress the power to levy income taxes so they can make the choice. The act was a monumental victory for President Wilson, making a shift in how federal government was funded. Let's say the Revenue Act of 1913 is considered a significant step in the development of the modern American economic system as it shifted the focus of federal revenue from tariffs to income tax. Think about this. Here's why the current tax system would make sense in the modern sense. If you charge other countries taxes, let's just say Russia. Okay. Let's just say Russia makes certain products that you don't make, and we make products that they don't make. So okay, so we charging, tariffs to Russia, and Russia charging tariffs for us. So as individuals, we pay, you know, anytime a company or a country, whoever has a has an expense, the consumer pays it. So let's say Russia had vodka. Okay, so and they charge 25% tariff on vodka. Or let's say no, America charge like 25% tariff on vodka. Well, the Russian citizens will get charged that. And it's like we shipped out corn to Russia. And so, what I'm saying, so Russia would charge us 25% on shipping corn there. We would have to pay that 25% tariff every time we bought something. So what they do is that let's just lower tariffs from other country, and we'll make up the difference with taxes for our own citizens since they got to pay it themselves. Because the problem with tariffs is, let's say we trading products, and then we go to war with each other. Now, one, if, but I don't know how, but would you think that each country is going to continue to trade with each other? Probably not, but I don't know because war to me is like a sham anyway. It's like I don't know, it's kind of fake sometimes. But if it's not, let's just say it's not. Well, you think they're gonna pay tariffs or gonna trade with each other? No. So now you got to find somewhere else to get that product or a product like it, or don't have a product, or you got to make it yourself. And so now you're losing revenue. So like, well, shoot, let's just charge tax on American citizens on everything, whether it's made here or somewhere else, and we'll be all right. You know what I'm saying? So we do go to war with another country. We're not dependent on their products or their tariffs or whatever to fund the country. But so in wartime, this income tax makes sense. But in times of peace, not so much. You understand me? Not so much. So that's why you got to, let's say, think about that. But again, like I was trying to say, and hold on, I think I want to hear one more thing. Say in 2023, the median household income for Black households in the U.S. was $56,490, which is significantly lower than the $84,630 median income for white households. Okay, let's just talk about the racial wealth gap and the poverty. Like almost 17% of Black people are in poverty, full-time Black workers. So see, think about this. If I was, well, I am, shoot, if I was all Black Americans in this country, which I am part of that population, I would be ecstatic if he said he wasn't going to charge any taxes on anybody making less than $150,000. Because, like I said, that keeps more money in my pocket. Now, here is the caveat. Next year, you probably won't get a tax return. Matter of fact, yeah, you can't get a tax return because you're not paying taxes. Because even now, if let's say you have a child in your house that work a little part-time job at a little grocery store, working like 5-10 hours a week, they ain't paying really nothing on taxes. And if they try to file that, they're not going to get nothing back and not going to owe nothing. It's not even going to be worth the paper that it's printed on. So you don't even file it because they minors and don't even make enough. You understand what I'm saying? But like I said, but for us grown folk, yeah, this here would be a great idea. I think it's wonderful. Shoot, I think, well, let's just say it like this. if this dude would cut taxes for people making less than $150,000, I think I would be very inclined to, you know, quit one of my jobs and be inclined to not work overtime at the other one because it'll be like making the same amount of money. Like seriously, instead of paying like 30, 35% taxes, shoot, now I'm not paying no taxes. That same 30, 35% go in my pocket. Or it's like it's not even there. So I can live the same. I can live the same that I'm living now and work less. Man, you can't beat that, man. Like I say, I don't know. But y'all want to continue to hate Donald Trump, so y'all continue to do that. But anyway, let's see if I want to watch any more of this real quick.
I'm sure you're going to hear some of this in a few minutes from him, that the U.S. is attacking the families of Canada, the food on their tables. But here, let's go to call for number one, the back and forth between President Trump today and Doug Ford. Watch.
We don't need their cars. We don't need their.
I don't want to talk about that. That's about the tariffs and stuff and how Trump is saying we don't need y'all. We got our own people. We're gonna make our own stuff, which I get it, so I understand. So yeah. So anyway, the point of the story is taxes. Don't have to pay taxes. I would love that. So really what you should be doing is rooting for this man to do what he said he's gonna do. Because basically that's what he's doing now. But because there's some things that you don't like, y'all are quick to judge it or to criticize it. But if it's something that could possibly work for in your favor, now you ain't got nothing to say. I mean, look, we always talk about how we're at the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to being American citizens. We're always at the bottom. Everybody's skipping over us. Everybody get the benefits. We don't get anything. Well, doggone, if that's the case and you believe that, then you know what I'm saying? This right here, you should be cool with it. You should be like, hey, we'll go. I roll with it because shoot, that's just like I say, put more money in my pocket in order for me to do other things, like maybe use it to go to school or to start a business or to save and invest. Because now like I said, I got more bread in my pocket. And then if you do no tax on overtime and no tax, now, oh shoot. See, hey, I don't know. How can that work? Because if I make less than 150,000, but then I make overtime and now I'm making more than 150,000, how's that gonna work? And he said no tax on overtime, no tax. Man, this man talking about no tax. Man, come on. Truthfully, you should be rooting for this guy. Period. No matter if you like him or not, root for what he talking about. If it works, that's great. If it don't, then hey, we'll just try to get him the next president. But anyway, tell me what you think about this story. Leave your comments below. Share it with the world. Let's have an intelligent conversation. You know how we do around here. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Those 4 things cost you maybe a couple minutes out your day, but it means the world to us, this channel. If you would like to support financially, you can always get a super thanks, super chat, super stickers, or you can go to the description box. There are links there you can click on, help support the channel that way. Now, if you want something tangible for your dollars, which a lot of people do, hey, go to marlonmorales.com or hit that shop button below and check out all our fine luxury products like perfumes, colognes, silk products, beard products, handbags, and much more. Check it out. You will not be disappointed. And with that being said, I'll leave you in peace and I'll see you on the other side.